So Jen and I have not been doing any outside work these last 3 days. The heat was just overwhelming. And so we literally took 3 days off of work. Every morning we were watering the garden just to make sure that none of our plants died. Because when I say it was hot, it was like Florida in July hot. Stupid, crazy stupid hot. But that's over now, so that's awesome. It's time to get to work. So a few things that we have to get done today is I have to get over here to our corn patch. It is taking a beating. The weeds are starting to overtake. So I'm going to get in here with a hoe. We're going to get all this cleaned up. And then I'm also going to come over here and get the bean area done. Get that all cleaned up with the weeds so we can give our plants some room to grow. The first year we planted a corn patch, we grew seed in milk jugs, and it was awesome. The second year we tried to do the Three Sisters, squash, beans, and corn, and it failed miserably. This year we tried to plant from seed, and unfortunately it hasn't been doing very well. I just finished hoeing it, and it looks like we may have 40 plants total, and I think we ended up planting about 120 or so. It's going to be mediocre at best. Kind of bums me out. I wanted a nice big corn patch here, but that's okay. We can't have a great season every year. This whole gardening thing we're still learning, and I have not figured out yet the corn patch, but I will. Rest assured, I will. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm learning from it, and I'm going to continue to learn from it. We're going to continue to nurture this corn patch this year, and we'll see what we end up with. We should know a little bit better of how many plants we'll have in a week or two once they've matured a little bit. And I'll keep working this ground, and hopefully we can get 40 or 50 plants out of this, but we'll see. I can't spend any more time on this. I've got to move over to the beans. So Jen is in the cabin making about 100 dinner rolls. She's making them because some friends of ours are having a wedding reception, and they asked if she could bring her rolls, and so that's what she's doing. Now, unfortunately, because it is summertime and because it is humid, the humidity can wreak havoc on her ability to make her rolls. So right now we have the air conditioner on in the kitchen area to help keep that humidity down. As a result, because we have no sun, we have to run the generator. So that's why the generator's on. So for the most part, we have the corn area de-weeded and hoed. I've gotten the bean area and celery area done. We need to plant a few more beans. We lost a couple of bean plants. I'm thinking to some bugs or something, but Jen's going to look into this a little bit more. We had 12, now we're down to 5. So we've got to figure out why we only have, I'm sorry, 6. So we've got to figure out why that is. And we'll probably get some more planted. As for the tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, everything else over there, I went through and I de-weeded all of that. I also put some cages up on some of our tomato plants. Unfortunately, we don't have enough cages for all of them, so I'm going to have to either make something up or try to see if we can't find some. But so for the garden today, we're done. But for now, what I need to work on is filling the raised beds that are in the greenhouse. And while we're working in the greenhouse, I do want to talk a little bit about why we built our greenhouse in this manner. A few of you folks have reached out and have asked why we didn't do a hoop house, why we built it in out of wood, and some other questions regarding why. Well, there are some reasons why we built it this way, and we're going to get into that here very soon. But first, I've got a problem. I can't bring the bucket into the greenhouse. It's all closed up. So I came up with a solution that I think is going to work to get the dirt from the tractor into the greenhouse. Let me show you. So I got to get this dirt into the greenhouse over there. The way we're going to be doing it is with buckets. I had to figure out a way to get the dirt from the pile here over into the greenhouse without killing myself. And the only thing I could come up with was filling up these buckets with dirt, driving the tractor over there, and then carrying the buckets into the greenhouse and emptying them into the raised beds. Oh crap, I forgot. I needed to spread this gravel out here in the front door. Let me get this real quick. A friend of ours gave us some horseradish. We won't be planting this in the greenhouse. We're going to plant it outside, but I've got to build a box for that. This stuff will get away from me real quick. Okay, so let's talk about why we built the greenhouse the way that we did. Moreover, why did we build a greenhouse to begin with? About 5 years ago, when we were still living in Illinois, we were prepping for our move out here. During that time, I met a gentleman who had a nursery and was closing it down. We were fortunate enough to acquire a 24-foot by 12-foot hoop house. Now, we had all the hardware that we needed except for the plastic. Our intent the entire time up until we decided to build this greenhouse was to install a hoop house. Fast forward to the summer of 2022 when we start talking about putting the hoop house together, and it turned out the location of where we wanted the greenhouse and having a hoop house simply wasn't going to work, primarily because of the amount of snow that we get in the wintertime. So because our garden is fenced in, we are kind of limited on space. And so in the location that we wanted to do it, we simply couldn't figure out how to make it work where I would still be able to clean the snow off of the bottom of the greenhouse on the outside using the snow blower. I could do it on one side, but I couldn't do it on the other side, which would have been facing the fence. Now, had we turned the greenhouse the other way, we hadn't allocated the space in the fenced-in area, and it just wouldn't have fit. So unfortunately, it was at that time that we realized that that particular hoop house just wasn't going to work in this garden. Kind of cool being in here knowing that it's raining outside. We suspected it would sound really awesome, and it does. Our kitchen is also built with a tin roof, And when it rains really nice and we're sitting in the outdoor kitchen, it just sounds amazing, almost thunderous. So going back to why we built the greenhouse the way that we did, we realized that we weren't able to use the hoop house, and so we started thinking of ways that we could utilize the space in our garden, effectively, and build something that would work for us with one thing in mind. How do we extend the growing season? That was really the primary focus for us. And the reason I say that is here in Maine, we have such a short growing season that, and we have so much space in our garden, we didn't need a greenhouse to grow during the summer. Although having a greenhouse to grow in the summer, it certainly is awesome. It wasn't the number one necessity, and it wasn't the number one thing driving us to get a greenhouse. Knowing that we could build our own greenhouse, we realized we needed to build it for the sun, which during the wintertime is about here. So knowing that the greenhouse that we needed, we would want to start growing late winter and harvest in early winter. So having said that, here in Maine, the sun drops in the horizon pretty quick during the late fall. And so we wanted to be able to maximize that sun. And so we came up with the design of having a 10-foot wall up in the front so that we could capture as much of that sunlight, during the day as we could during those times of the year. Now, the reason we have polycarbonate up on the roof was to try and capture some of that sunlight as the sun is moving during the early winter and late winters. And during the summertime, we actually get quite a bit of sun in here for about 6 hours a day. And we are actually going to try and grow in here this summer. So it'll be kind of a trial. We're going to see how it works, but we're going to give it a shot. Now, the reason we went with polycarbonate as opposed to, say, plastic was because of the winds. The winter winds here are brutal, and we wanted to make sure that we had some integrity in our walls. So that's why we decided to go with the polycarbonate. Now, the reason we decided to cedar the back wall is because of snow. During the winter time, snow is going to pile up on this roof and it is going to slide off, and we are hoping it will slide outside of the fence line. What will typically happen, though, is the snow is going to build up around this fence and it's going to want to push up against the building. And we didn't want to have any polycarbonate there because we didn't want to have any issues with the pressure of the snow, because I'm not going to be cleaning that snow. So having cedar boards there just made sense for that reason. And that is the same reason why we went 2 feet up, or I think 30 inches up in the front, was because the snow is going to get deep here, and I didn't want to have the snow up against any polycarbonate or against the plastic, because I didn't want to have any damage to it. So having that 30 inches of cedar there is more of a security for the integrity of the building during winter. Another question somebody had asked is about the floor, and why didn't we build a floor in here? Well, ideally, I wanted to have a gravel floor. That I just did. We're planting on the ground. We knew we were going to be, having these boxes. We're putting cardboard under the boxes. I suppose I could have built the floor, but I just didn't see a purpose. I also didn't see a purpose in spending the money on a concrete pad as well. It just didn't make sense. We know the ground moves, and we know that this building is going to move, but by having each of these blocks under, the foundation the way that it is, it gives me the flexibility to be able to jack the building up and lower it or lift it as I need to. It'll be interesting to see what happens this next winter, honestly. I have never seen a building built like this here in Maine. Not that they haven't been, but I've never seen one. It'll be interesting to see how the building behaves during the wintertime, and more importantly, during frost heave. Well, we have the first bed filled. We're working on the second bed. Those are all the veggies and herbs that we're going to be planting. And we've got to get these 2 beds done. So we've got a little bit more dirt to move. So we've had some crazy weather, crazy build days, crazy schedule for that matter. And it's been a couple of days actually since we were in here last. Fortunately, we're going to have 2 days of rain. And we really need it here in the state of Maine. I know there are some swamps or swampy areas around us that are completely dried out. And even our marsh is drying up. We're not actually working today. It is Sunday. It is our day off. And that's kind of why I'm in my Pulp Fiction Lazy Man shirt. I hope in this video I've been able to explain some of the reasons we went with the style of greenhouse that we went with. If you have more questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to kind of, talk more a little bit about, again, why we went this route as opposed to using a hoop house, which would have been much easier to put together, and they're a lot more common. But, for where we are geographically, with the snow loads that we get, with the space that we're able to use, this is what worked best for us. And to that point, we did get all of our boxes filled with dirt. I ended up having, to use buckets to bring the dirt in here. So I couldn't get the tractor in here. It took me actually quite a while to do it because it gets heavy. Those 5-gallon buckets full of dirt get heavy moving them around. So, but we finally got them done. We do have some veggies that are going in the ground here. And we've got our tables set up. We also filled up some bins full of loam. I've got to fill up a couple more, and then we're also going to be putting some of our compost in here as well, just to have a stock of dirt when we need to grow, albeit this year, next year, or whatever. So we just want to make sure we get this room as prepared as possible. Now, that said, one last thing we need to do is we are putting our wood stove in here. But I want to build a little platform with some metal. I'm going to put some metal tin up in this corner. We're going to be cutting a hole. I think I'm cutting my hole right here. I might cut it here, but it's a little close to the door, so I might go right here. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. But we'll get the stovepipe up, get it out there, and then that way, come this winter time, we'll be able to heat up the greenhouse as we see fit. So, well, again, I hope that answers your questions, folks. If you have more, drop them in the comment section. For right now, I'm going to go hang out with Jen, and we're going to take it easy for a couple days. Again, we're supposed to get a ton of rain, so we really, really need it. The garden really needs it. All right, well, I hope you folks enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you folks on the next video.